Hello, bonjour, namaste, welcome to Storng Man. I'm Ben Williams. I'm here presenting this for the wonderfully wicked Jimmy Strange. And this is Storng Man. You've obviously seen it, you've opened it, because you got the link from the side of the box, so we might as well crack it out right now. As you can see, you get this nice presentation box. But inside you get your Storng Man gimmick. Now, I love this gimmick. This is Jimmy Strange has been working prototypes for the past couple of years on this. We're really happy with the final result. Essentially, it's a nut and a bolt for all intents and purposes that you can have people check and feel. You can have people touch it, feel that it's solid, and then at any moment you can make it just bend like butter. And then it can straighten almost as if it was an illusion, and then you can feel that it's solid again. Now that's the bare bones of Storng Man. We'll crack into some routines and some ideas and handling tips, of course, but this is Storng Man. So, the basic handling. It's a very simple gimmick to use. You have this little, like I say, for all intents and purposes, nut and bolt. The bolt does screw on and screw off, just like any other nut and bolt would do, but this is not a bolt, this is a spring. If you pull the pin out at the bottom, you can pull it out with your nail, or you can give it a slight little tug to help pull the pin out. You have a pin that's been fit to slot inside and pop in there so that you can show that it's solid. So at any point you can show it's solid, and then you can pop the pin out and have it bend. Essentially, what you're going to do is you're going to get your nail and just pop the pin out from underneath. It's the last ring on the screw, and once you pop that out, you can slide it out. It hides behind your finger and your thumb, and then you can bend. Depending on what bend you want, depends on how far you take the bolt out, or whether you take the bolt out entirely. Or sorry, I should say pin. So if you want a nice curvy bend, you can pull it out about halfway, and then you pull down like so. Put your two fingers over the end and mirror that with this other hand here. It's important to mirror your hands. You don't want to be like this or anything. You want your hands to look mirrored, so you get a nice aesthetic look to it. You pull down. You don't ever want to pull too far. This is a spring, so it has got memory to it. If you start bending it too much or anything like that, then you could damage how straight this spring is when you take the pin out. So you just want to give it a nice little curve, and then you can bend it back, and these two fingers shield the pin. Once you've done this, you're going to essentially use your finger here, just about here, where the pin is, and you're going to use your finger here just to push together, and then you can push on your thumb just to make sure it's locked into place, and that just all happens. You do the bend, and that all just happens as you're gesturing with it. And then immediately you can have somebody try and bend it. You can, if you do the handlings where they touch it and they feel it, they'll feel the difference instantly. You can have them hold it and have somebody else try and rub it as well. They will feel that it's solid, and then they will feel that it's just like butter, and then it becomes solid again. So that's the basic handling of Storng Man. Now let's get into some routines. So a basic routine you can do with Storng Man. what you want to do is you want to go and get some nuts and bolts. Just get some different nuts and bolts with different sizes, and just have some with bolts on, some without, just so that you've got a whole bunch of them. Okay, now they are going to all look a bit different, so it's not really going to show out. And all you want to do is say, here, I've got some nuts and bolts, check them out, here, and hand one out, hand out a real one, and then just say, here, hand out the Storng Man gimmick to somebody, and just say, they're just nuts and bolts, you can de-thread it if you want, and then hand out a couple more. Hand them out to different people around the room, okay, and then take back the Storng Man gimmick, and then take back another nut and bolt, and turn to somebody and say, point to a bolt. If they point to the Storng Man gimmick, then perfect. You're going to do a magician's choice. So, if they point to the Storng Man gimmick, perfect, you're going to use that. If they point to the other one, great, they're going to have that, and you'll use this one, okay? So, it doesn't matter which one they choose, they're always going to end up with this one to hold on to whilst you do the demonstration with the Storng Man gimmick. So, there are a few different ways that you can bend this. If you pop the pin out and you pull it out, you can get a really nice bend. This is handling that you saw on the demo where he asked them to rub it, and they rub the top and it bends down, okay, and then you get this nice display you can show everybody, and then you get them to rub it up and it goes straight again, and then you hold on to it. As you turn it down, you do the lock-in pin. So I'll just run through that quickly. As it's out here, I rotate it around and it just gets popped down, and my middle finger just makes sure that it's clicked in. Okay, so that happens, and then you can hand it to somebody and say, here, hold on, just check it. It's still solid though, isn't it? And you can get them to hold on to it. Instruct the examination, okay? Because people are going to be everyone's got nuts and bolts, they're all going to be flying around, and this, you can actually say, here, hold on to it, try it like this. If you hold it like this and you hold it like this, and then you can get somebody else to rub it and it doesn't work, and then you could take it back and you could try it again, and you could do a different bend this time. You could say, no, but here, if you take it and you rub it and you bend it like this. For a basic idea, what you want to do is get a bolt and put it in a vise and smack it with a hammer. Bend it, okay? Now you've got a permanently bent bolt. Now, at some point during the routine, you're going to hand all these bolts out. You want to get all these extra bolts and nuts and bolts, hand them all out. The bent one, the actual fully bent and solidified bent one, is going to stay with you. You can have it in your pocket, have it riding out there for the while. But what you want to do is, once you've handed all these out, collect them back and say, so you've checked them all, and that's when you add the bent one to the pile and you chuck it down into a mess on the table. Okay, so now there's a bent bolt in amongst the mix of them. Now as you do the demonstration, you can still have a couple of people holding onto bolts as well. That's a good idea to have. Now as you do the demonstration and you have the bend, and then it bends back and it's straight again, and you have them check it. If you do a bend like this, where you push it, you can have a nice moment where you turn it like that, and as you turn it, have it straighten and just say, see, this is the thing, it wasn't actually this that was bending. This was just an optical illusion. It was actually that bolt over there. And that's when you point down to the bolts over here, and you can push around and just display that there's a bent bolt over there now. And now you've got a full-on bent bolt that people are going to be distracted by anyway. Now they've checked this anyway, there's no reason for them to come back to it. And you get a really nice demonstration of metal bending that's visual. Everyone can see it, it's up by your face. But you end up with something very strange occurring. You get a surprise kicker finish to the routine, which is really nice. If you wanted to, you could switch a couple more bent bolts into there, you know, just so that it looks like a bit of a mess of bent bolts, and then you get this whoa, Uri Geller kind of moment where you're actually having things completely away from you being affected, and it just plays really, really big. So that is the basic handling and basic routine for Storng Man. So another cool little routine that you can do with Storng Man is to enhance your coin bend routine, because I love doing the coin bend routine. It's a fantastic routine, but it's, by its inherent nature, it's very close up. A coin is very small. Okay, so what I've been using Storng Man to do is to give me a nice visual element to a coin bending routine that's not using the cutlery which is up by my face for like a table of 12 around a banquet. So there's many different coin benders on the market, I'm sure you're familiar with, which you can go check out if you want to do a signed coin bend. Alternatively, you can just do a simple switch with a coin, and I'll teach you a couple of different methods for that, so that you could just take a normal coin, switch it for a bent coin that somebody's holding on to, so that at the end of the routine they find that the coin in their hand is now bent. So the handling on this would be very, very simple. I just introduce this. It's up to you how you want to do this. If you want to just use the Storng Man gimmick, that's fine. If you want to add in a couple of other nuts and bolts to hand out around the table or around to a group of people, then that's great as well. That's a nice added presentation thing. Everyone's got something to play with. So I'll leave that up to you. So all I do is I just say, I've got a nut and a bolt here, and I just hand it to somebody and just say, just check that out. You can de-thread the nut if you want, or just, you know, it's solid though, isn't it? Great. And then I place that just in full view, or I place it on somebody's hand. It depends on the situation. You could, just thinking about it, you could upturn a wine glass and place it on there if you wanted to just leave it there as a nice isolated point. But that also emphasises that there's nothing in your hand, so there's no switch that can be made. But then you want to introduce a coin, so you can have a bent coin and a coin in your pocket. As you go into your pocket, you finger palm the bent coin and you come out with the coin, and you can have that, hand that to somebody and check that, and just say, here, check that. And then as you take this back, you're just going to pass it across to somebody across here and do a switch, and it's as simple as just pretending to pick it up, and then you can display the coin pretty fairly, because they're not expecting anything. So, and the technique that I use on this is more attitude. I believe that if you're going to switch an item, if you're going to switch a coin, then don't do any fancy slides. Don't switch a coin by doing a thumb palm switch or anything like that. A simple Bobo switch is perfect, just chucking it into your hand. That's where you have the bent coin in finger palm, you take the other coin, you hold it at your fingers, and then as you toss, you just toss the finger palm coin out into your hand. I mean, that's nice if you're just playing around with the coin and you want to switch it and then hand it to somebody, but I like to orchestrate it so that I'm doing it in the motion of something else, and it should look like what you would actually do. So if you're going to switch a coin, learn what it looks like to pick a coin up and give to somebody. Okay? So just actually pick a coin up and hand it. That's what it would look like. I'll be there, I'll take it, and I'll just hand it across. So what you want is your switch to just replicate that. Okay? That's the fanciness has all been taken out. That's the best way to switch a coin deceptively, is just to do it naturally. Okay? And then just hand that to somebody and ask them to squeeze hold of it. So they've got the bent coin in their hand now. I'll just place that there. This one can get ditched off as you draw attention back to the bolt. Ask somebody to hand it to you. They hand it to you. You can ditch off the coin in your pocket, and then you show the bolt. You ask somebody to just push, and they feel it's solid again. And as you do that, you can unlock the pin from underneath. So now the pin is out. I'm holding it at the tip, and then you can hold their finger, ask them to concentrate, and then just slowly push, and the bolt will bend. They'll feel it just bend like butter. Okay? They'll realise that this is just not the solid thing that they just felt it was. And then you can ask them just to relax and just come back, and then you can show it like this. Now that's one presentation. Of course, you can do the other presentation if you ask somebody to rub it, and then they rub it, and then you can display it like this. This is a nice little display. And then you ask them to rub it back, which is lovely. I love that idea from Chris, to have them to rub it to bend it and then rub it to straighten it. That really makes sense. And then you can pop the pin back in just as you hand it out and just say, now here, hold on to it, just hold, feel it. That's still solid though, isn't it? And the reason why it's still solid is because this was all just an illusion. It wasn't the nut and the bolt that was bending at all. It was the coin in your hand. And that's when you point to the other spectator. They've been holding a coin they've forgotten about probably by now, and then they open their hand, and lo and behold, the coin is now bent inside their hand. And then you are done. So that is a nice coin bend handling. Like I say, if you want to use this with your other coin benders to do a signed coin bend routine, then that's absolutely fine. It works perfectly in conjunction with that. But I find a nice, just a little switch like that is perfect. You can also ask if you want to do it with a borrowed coin. You could have a couple of different coins prepped if you like, and then ask somebody if they've got a handful of change, come over with a finger palm penny and just pick it up, pretend to pick it up out the hand, and you just show it like this and then hand it straight to somebody. You could use that presentation, and then it's a completely borrowed coin. Or you could take whatever coin you can see that matches yours and then switch it as you take it, switch it and hand it to somebody straight away. Okay, so that's a perfect little handling and a nice little additional visual element that Storng Man gives you for a coin bend routine. So another nice little theme that you can run with is the classic spoon bend with Storng Man. Again, this is a nice way to just make a full routine of essentially what is something that's bending and just straightening. Okay? So what you want to do is just get yourself a teaspoon. You can have that just checked by anyone. You can use a teaspoon. You can use a fork for this if you like. A teaspoon's nice and easy to sort of bend. And you just want something. You could use a hat from somebody, you know, so you could use a beanie hat if you're wearing one. You could use a cap from somebody. You can use somebody's bag. You could use, you know, your own sort of little bag or something like that if you wanted to. Just something which you could drop this into and have somebody hold or somebody, you know, guard. Okay. So what happens is you would have somebody just introduce the nut and the bolt. Have somebody just feel it, check it. Again, if you want to use many bolts, that's entirely up to you. And you come to the point you rest this down, and then you say here and check the spoon. And I like to talk about Uri Geller and metal bending. It gets people on the right sort of path. But what you would want to do is just, you could have if you have somebody hold a cap and you're worried about them seeing it, just have somebody hold the cap up high in front of everybody and just say, just hold it up high and make sure that nobody can get to that, okay? And that will be sort of your cover. But what you want to do is, it depends on how hard the teaspoons are. You might have to bend a teaspoon. Ideally you want to bend this one-handed. So with a teaspoon, usually you put the stem or the arm of the spoon across here, so it hits around the base of your little finger. Your forefinger goes on the neck of the spoon, and on the bowl of the spoon on the inside is your thumb, and you're just going to press, and that puts a nice bend in a teaspoon. Now obviously some teaspoons are harder. This is a very soft spoon to bend, so if you do have a soft spoon to bend, a nice way to hold it is like this, because if you hold it like this, it looks like you're just displaying it. Yet as you come down, you can put the bend in there, and you're just pushing with your thumb against your fingers here, okay? And then that just gets dropped into the hat as somebody holds it up high. And now inside the hat, the spoon is nicely bent, okay? Another idea is if you want to put a twist in a spoon, and you can put a twist in a spoon and switch it if you like. If you want to learn how to put a twist in a spoon, there's loads of different metal bending references out there. I highly recommend studying people, there's Jerry and Banachek's DVD, Psychokinetic Silverware, loads of stuff by D. Christopher that I highly recommend checking out. There's Liquid Metal, of course, by Morgan Strebler, if you like that sort of street, quick metal bending type routining. And so there's tons of different people out there that you can study this from, but essentially what you're going to do is have a spoon, show it, and then as you drop it in the hat, you give it a bend, okay? And have somebody hold it up high. Or if you want, you could put it into a beanie hat and do the bend as it's in the hat. So you just pop it in there like that, and then the bend is covered as you put your hand in. Now that would work with a paper bag or any other type of bag, or even somebody's, if you said here, just held up somebody's purse or small bag, and as you lifted up the lid, you did it as you popped it in. So essentially that's the idea. You have this shown as straight, it's now bent, and it's somewhere being held by a spectator. They've checked this, you come back to this, and then you do the presentation where you have somebody bend it, and then it straightens, and then you can say, here, check it out, have them try to bend it, and then you can say, but here, watch, if you really concentrate and really focus, you can bend it. I love this because as you turn and you can straighten it, and it's all just an illusion. It's not actually this that was bending. Everyone was focusing on metal bending. It was actually the spoon inside that hat. And that's a nice, I love finishing with that statement because it gets everyone to snap out of what I'm doing. And they've checked it, they just immediately go over to the spoon inside the hat. No one's been near it, they lift it out, now the spoon's nicely bent. So that is another presentational idea for using a spoon bend with your Storng Man gimmick. So here's an additional bend that you can do if you want to take the pin completely out. It's a really nice display. Again, it's up by your face. So if at any point you want to take the pin out, you can simply just give it a tug and the pin falls out like this, okay? Or you can pick it out with your nail, depending on which you prefer, okay? And all you're going to do, you're just going to let that pin drop into your hand. So it just drops straight out into your hand like this. And it depends if you want to go to your pocket for a lighter or something like that, or if you just feel safe enough misdirecting and ditching it off, that's fine. You can keep it in your hand if you want. A little tip here is if you are wearing a ring, you can slide it underneath your ring if you wanted to, as you do the penetration or the rub or anything like this, have a really clean hand display still, okay? But you can just finger palm it if you want to keep hold of it. Now I keep it like this, so my middle finger clips over the middle and pushes it against the base of my middle finger and this little phalange of my forefinger, and this allows me to still have a very clean hand kind of display as I do a bend. So once you've taken the pin out, depending on whether you're ditching it off or not, that's where you go. You're here, you can, the pin is completely out. You rotate it like this, and now you're holding it up here. Now I've got the pin there, and I can just rub and slowly start to bend. Now if I do this, it's really nice to go slowly. The slower that you go, you might even want to just spin that down if that's getting in your way, or take it off entirely. And you just get this nice little bend. I try not to get it to bounce like this or anything because you don't want it to seem springy. You just want, if you want pivot on your thumb and your finger, locking your hand like this so that you've got a pivot point that can come across and your hand is just all locked together. You shower it around like so, and then you can just let it straighten back out. And now you rotate it around and you can slide the pin straight back in and dump it on your hand. And if you dump it on your hand like this, then as you pick it up to give it to somebody, you can instruct them to hold it, rub it and try and bend it, and it just won't bend for them. Okay, that's a nice display as well, because as you bring it up here, you've got a bit more work to do, taking the pin fully out and then matching it back up and putting it back in. You can just kind of do it by feel. If you've taken it out, you can have it pinched so you know it's there, and then you can just feel it and feed it back in as you talk and gesture, and there's not much to be seen there anyway. And then what's nice about that is because you're up like this and they're like this, you can replicate that, you can give it to them, and there's no way that they're going to be able to bend it. They're going to feel like it's completely solid, and it's a really nice kind of inspection of it. So that's a nice little bend that you can do if you want to take the pin entirely out. You can do one-handed bends as well if it's entirely out. It seems a bit more strongman-like. Be careful you don't flash the bottom. But you know, I think that's nice maybe for a quick illusion, and then just bang and it's not bent at all. This wasn't what was bending, it was the coin in your hand or whatever like that. That gives you a nice bit of misdirection to put the pin back in. You can tap it, show that it's solid, ask somebody to try and bend it, and they won't be able to. So that is a nice little handling for the bends if you want to take the pin entirely out. So Jimmy Strange would like to thank you first of all for having a look and being interested in his work. He really is a crazy thinker. He's got some great ideas, lots more to come from him. I'm very excited to be able to help him produce and put these ideas out. We'd like to thank Dominic Rays, Mark Henderson at the Merchant of Magic team. Without them, there would not be a Storng Man. Obviously Jimmy Strange, without him, there definitely wouldn't have been a Storng Man. And to all the team at Murphy's, to Chris Overley and Jason Brumbelow for the awesome demo, for everyone else at the Murphy's team for helping us bring this out to everybody. I want to thank, of course, Jimmy Strange. That's a personal thanks from me, and of course Jimmy would like to thank all these people as well. There's so many thanks, it's like an Oscars. And we also want to give credits out as well, because there's you know, credits around for everything, because we stand on the shoulders of giants. So for all the coin bending like ideas and metal bending ideas, you want to go out, study Banachek, study Richard Osterland. Morgan Strebler's got some great work on it. Dee Christopher, as I mentioned earlier. Go and study these people, you know, the nail bends and metal bends that are on Banachek's Psi series and Richard Osterland's L&L series are just, they're great. So check them out. And just study, you know, go out there and learn and study everything. There is another credit as well to John Cornelius, who had the bendable pen, which is a similar sort of idea. So the bendable pen by John Cornelius, that obviously has to be credited there as well. So we'd like to give a big thanks out to John Cornelius. So thanks to everyone again for buying this project, it really means a lot to us. Thanks again to the Merchant of Magic team, thanks again to the Murphy's team, and enjoy Storng Man. I've been Ben Williams, and this has been Storng Man by Jimmy Strange.